Good evening and welcome to this episode of the weekly roundup of the news in English. In latest news on the Gaza crisis, reports coming in say that Syria and the Hezbollah in Lebanon have launched attacks on Israel.
Hezbollah fired a barrage of missiles that nearly overwhelmed the Iron Dome defense system of Israel. 8 missiles were fired, of which 6 were intercepted, as reported by the Times of Israel. The remaining 2 landed in open areas and no injury was reported. The IDF retaliated immediately by shelling the source of the firing. The total number of slain soldiers of the Israeli army now stands at 113. The death toll due to Israel's airstrikes and ground invasion in Gaza has crossed 18,400. The IDF recovered the bodies of 2 Israeli hostages from Gaza. Among them was Eden Zakaria, who was kidnapped from the music festival on October 7th. Iranian-backed Hezbollah has constantly fired missiles and rockets at Israel since the October 7th attack by Hamas. Hezbollah, which is an ally of Hamas, has opened a new front against Israel. Hezbollah has admitted that over 100 of their members have been killed since the start of the Gaza war. Israel in the meantime has warned Hezbollah of consequences if it directly enters the war. Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened to turn Beirut into Gaza if Hezbollah escalates attacks.
A Philippines boat and Chinese ship have collided near a contested reef in the latest territorial dispute between the two countries in the South China Sea. We have this report.
The Philippines said China had harassed, blocked, and executed dangerous maneuvers. Philippines accused China of using water cannons to obstruct 3 of its vessels. The South China Sea is at the center of a territorial dispute between China, the Philippines, and other countries. The Philippines said that China had targeted Philippine civilian supply vessels in the Second Thomas Shoal in the Spratly Islands, a flashpoint between the two countries. One of 2 boats carrying provisions was rammed by a Chinese Coast Guard ship, the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea said in a statement. It also accused China of causing severe damage to the engine of one boat after using water cannons.
Daniel Waldman was with Noam Shai and their friends at the Nova Festival on October 7th when Hamas attacked the festival. Daniel and Noam were planning on getting married soon. Daniel's father, Eyal Waldman, is a tech giant who founded the Israeli chipmaker Mellanox Technologies. The Hamas attack shattered all their dreams. We have this report for you.
Danielle and Noam were part of the group of people who ran and fled for their lives that fateful day. While they were fleeing in the car, Danielle had a conversation with her dad, and in a portion of that video they don't seem to be aware of the magnitude of the attack. Then abruptly the video stopped. Later Eyal found out that Hamas gunmen had riddled the car with bullets. Noam, Danielle, and their friends in the back seat were killed, as were nearly 360 other Israelis who went to dance at the festival in the Negev desert near the Gaza border. When the sun set on that day, 1,200 Israelis had been slaughtered either at the festival or in their homes in kibbutzim close to the border. It was the worst loss of Jewish life in a single day since the Holocaust. Since then, Israel has gone to war in Gaza to eradicate Hamas, and Palestinians in turn have been slaughtered. In Gaza now, as in Israel after October 7th, parents are burying their children. And for every parent, Palestinian or Israeli, the loss is incomparable. Just 10 days before Danielle was killed, she was chatting with her father about the future. She said, "You know, Dad, I decided I am going to marry Noam," he recalls. They were together for 6 years, and it was an amazing friendship and partnership. They were going to live in the country, raising kids. She wanted many kids and a lot of dogs and horses. The devoted young couple, who never got the chance to marry, were buried together instead.
Yahya Mohammed is one of the many Arab Muslim Israelis who have chosen to join the IDF to protect and defend Israel. Although he didn't need to join the defense forces, Yahya knew that he wanted to give something back to his country. What he shares about Israel will surprise you.
My name is Yahya Mohammed. I'm 21 years old. I'm an Israeli. I'm an Arab. I'm a Muslim. and I'm a proud soldier in the Israeli Defense Forces. I grew up in the Arab village of al-Fahm. I grew up in a country that I was taught to hate, but eventually I fell in love with Israel. I decided I wanted to give back to my country. So even though I am not required to do military service, I chose to enlist in the IDF and join a combat unit. I was nervous about how the rest of my platoon would feel about serving with a soldier who comes from a Muslim background, but I was greeted with open arms, treated with nothing but respect and admiration. Today I officially finished advanced training in the Nachal Infantry Brigade. And when I stood on the ceremony alongside the brothers that I had been training with for the last 8 months, I was proud to accept the responsibility of standing at the borders and protecting my country, Israel.
More than 100 cities joined in praying the Rosary for Spain on December 8th, the feast of the country's patroness, the Immaculate Conception. The rosaries were for asking for her intercession due to the political, social and moral crisis in Spain, and in response to attempts to suppress religious freedom.
In response to a call for a nationwide public rosary, groups large and small gathered on the streets and squares of Spain to pray the rosary. A declaration which was released for the occasion on December 5th stated that the Spanish nation is at a crossroads that translates into a moral and spiritual bankruptcy. This is due, among other reasons, to the fact that the ruling partocratic oligarchy has forgotten, on most occasions, the function of any just form of government, which is seeking the common good. The manifesto stressed that the role that lay people must play is crucial and that prayer is the most powerful weapon that a servant of God can have. A consecration to Mother Mary was also read out. Mary's help was requested for building the civilization of love, being faithful to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and to guard the faith in the face of any error and any lack of love. Imploring Our Lady's help, the prayer continued, "Bless our families and protect our homeland, the cradle of so many saints who loved you and imitated you with fervor, so that with nobility of soul we may be builders of peace and unity. Never allow us to grieve your heart. Accept this prayer that we address to you as sons and daughters of the Church in Spain, and give us light so that all our decisions may always be guided by your heart, which is a refuge and impetus for our conversion. Place us with Jesus and write our names today on your Immaculate Heart," the text concluded.
The 2023 nativity scene this year comes from the town of Greto in Italy. The nativity scene has a special significance. It commemorates the 800th anniversary of the first nativity scene in history that was created by St. Francis of Assisi.
The tree is over 80 feet tall, and when the Christmas season is over, its wood will be used to make toys to be distributed by Caritas International. Pope Francis does not usually attend this ceremony, but every year in the morning he meets with the delegations in charge of its presentation. He holds the meeting in the Paul VI audience hall, where there is also a nativity scene. It is a tradition for the Pope to visit the tree and the nativity scene in the square. Usually it is on the 31st of December, the last day of the year. Pope Francis goes out into the streets to greet those present and contemplate these two symbols of Christmas.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Until we meet next time, God bless.